We just came back from a very long car ride to MagFest.
Yes, a long car ride that was dead silent.
There was nothing said at all.
We didn't even make eye contact.
But that could have changed if we decided to listen to our brand new podcast.
Oh yeah, we could listen to ourselves so we don't have to talk to ourselves.
So that's what you should do. Head over to iTunes, go look in the description below, and find the Hot Take Podcast and listen to these very episodes without seeing anything. Hey Adam.
Yeah, Shane?
What portable video game system from Sega would you like to see again?
The Sega Game Gear.
Well, how about the Nomad?
Oh.
Yes, the Nomad.
Hot take!
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
This is great! I love this!
Well, yeah. I've missed the brick. Do you remember the brick?
I do remember the brick.
Gigantic brick, which would let you play Sega Genesis games.
Wow. So, for those of you that don't know, a very long time ago, Sega released a portable system which wasn't the Game Gear. It was called the Sega Nomad.
Yeah, some people called it the successor.
Yeah, now the Nomad itself was actually based off some technology called the MegaJet or whatever it is.
That's it, MegaJet.
Yeah, and the MegaJet was actually made originally for airplanes, and it would plug up to the screen in the airplane, but the Nomad basically had a screen built into it. Now, if you don't really know what the Nomad is, essentially you play Sega Genesis games, the big ones, in a portable handheld system.
It was released exclusively in North America, and actually the MegaJet was something that you could only play on flights within Japan or on Japan Airlines or something. It's pretty extreme. So, we're talking about the Nomad. We've been alluding to something we haven't even mentioned yet. So, at CES 2019, the company Retrobit is showing many things off. Retrobit has partnered with Sega to make some new controllers. We're seeing new Saturn controllers, wired and wireless, and we're seeing new Genesis controllers, wired and wireless. And they have some prototype units of a Nomad-looking device.
Yeah. It basically, from what we can tell, is a brand new version of a Sega Nomad, likely using newer screen technology, and it plays Genesis cartridges.
Yeah. We don't know that much.
Yeah.
Well, so looking at the two comparatively, the original Nomad, I think, has like a 4:3 screen aspect ratio, right?
Yes.
I think this one is a little bit wider.
Looks a little bit,
It looks like it may possibly, you may have the option if you want to stretch. Blasphemy. Blasphemy.
I know, but
again, this is a prototype, right?
It is a prototype. We don't know if this is actually coming out, but Retrobit has been showing off a lot of really cool things at the show, including like a Sega Saturn controller with analog joysticks and stuff.
Yeah, and they showed off an N64 controller that looked like the Hori pad.
Yeah. All these things are really cool, and it's great to see companies doing this. Now, just so you know about our history with Retrobit in the past, they have sent us a ton of hardware and controllers. And aside from the one system we got from them, which was the Retrobit Generations, which we felt was not a really good system, everything else has been a solid entry in hardware.
And they actually released another Generations console shortly thereafter that fixed a lot of the gripes that we had with the original.
The Retrocade, I think it's what it's called. Yeah, fantastic system, really, really good, and we highly recommend it. There's a lot of cool games on it. Now, what I loved about their stuff is they have a lot of effort, or they put a lot of effort and time into making the best things they can possibly make. Sometimes they go more budget, but when it comes to making a new Nomad, we don't know who exactly is asking for that, but boy, I'm happy to see it.
We don't know if Sega's asking for it yet, because while they partnered with Sega for many of their controllers and stuff, there's no Sega branding or anything like that on this console.
Well, there doesn't really need to be. As long as there's no games on there, they don't have to put Sega on it whatsoever.
Yeah, I know, but because they've already worked with them, you would assume that there would be some sort of a good faith measure or something. I think this is more of a proof of concept.
Yeah,
I guess
if you were to do something like that, though, then Retrobit would actually have to start paying Sega licensing rights. So for them, it makes more sense to just go, here's a thing that exists, you can use it. Now, in the past, the original Nomad had a couple of issues with working with certain games, right?
Yeah, that's right. Some, I believe, third-party games from the very beginning of the Genesis's lifespan had issues, which you could work around with a Game Genie for some reason. And then you mentioned some others as well, like the FX chip.
Yeah, there might be certain games, not FX chip, the SVP, I think is what it's called, the Sega Virtual Processor.
Yes.
The FX chip. Well, this is a Sega conversation. You're coming in here with Nintendo. Look, here's the thing you need to know. The Nomad is a very good system. It does a lot of really cool things. It had a bad battery life. The D-pad, many people don't like too much. There's a lot of stuff about it that that is questionable.
Yep.
But with a new version of a Nomad, there's a lot of things they could change. Now, I'm not saying it doesn't work with like Sonic and Knuckles and virtual racing and stuff like that. We don't know how this new system will really treat anything. Is the battery life going to be improved? Well, because of the screen technology, I imagine it will.
Was it 6 batteries?
It was quite a few.
The Game Gear was 6.
It was a lot.
And I don't remember how many batteries the original Nomad took, but man, it was just like the Game Gear. Like you get, I don't know, I think 2 hours if you're lucky.
I'm pretty sure there was like a battery pack and stuff. You could use
probably one that you like a backpack.
Yeah. Look, just so you know, for many of you out there that may not remember the original Game Gear and the Nomad when they came out, they were neat for their time, but boy, screen technology at that size, there was ghosting, it was overblown with colors, sometimes it was just kind of blurry. There's a lot that didn't work then.
The quality would degrade over time.
Yeah, right? but nowadays we've got cell phones that are like running at high definition, in some cases 4K. Yeah. We have nice tiny screens that work really, really well. So for them to take anything like that and to use that in modern terms, I think we'd be looking at something that at least has a better battery life, but also has a much sharper screen, and I think improves upon the original with modern technology.
And again, the console's called the Nomad. It was the Switch before the Switch was the Switch.
Yeah, it really
right?
was.
Hey, you want to play your home console games on the go? You can do that. You want to play it on your TV? Well, the Nomad hooked up to your TV.
Yes.
So if you don't like the screen within the Nomad or whatever this is going to be called, you can just hook it up to your TV. I'm assuming it's HDMI, which that's pretty cool too.
I mean, there's got to be some stuff
it's HDMI. I don't think it's AV.
I mean, here's the question I have. Now, the original Nomad didn't run the game at any high resolution or anything like that, but with a modern system, and I think Retrobit is capable of doing this. They've released systems that can run older games like the SNES, the NES, and the Genesis in higher resolutions. Maybe this system can do that too. I would like to see that, because if you're giving me a portable system with, I don't know, maybe the screen's going to be the original resolution of the original games.
Yeah,
whatever.
We're seeing a widescreen aspect ratio, but the thing isn't even turned on at CES, so we really don't know.
I would just like an output of 720p, and I'd like the games to run that way, and I think it would be a very cool thing to have, to surpass what the Nomad tried to establish and do, and to add some other things there. Of course, I want controller inputs so that I can have like multiple games being played at the same time. Those are multiple a game with multiplayer being played at the same time. I want those things.
Yeah, we've been spoiled with classic systems. Yeah. We've been given options. Well, not necessarily the PlayStation Classic, but we've been given options to have different filters. And if you want to stretch the image, if you want a perfect pixel mode, like those are all things that I would really very much love to see in this device. We have to wait and see what happens. Again, I haven't seen this thing turned on yet.
Yeah.
So
we just saw a picture, folks.
I think they.
Why? I know you're probably asking, why bother making a video about this? Because no one should have done that. It's the weirdest thing. Yeah. It's like seeing somebody remake a system that no one really asked for, and they're just doing it because, I guess, out of love of the Sega franchise. I guess because they're working, or Sega IP, they're working with Sega so much right now, I guess they were just like, we can do this, and they did it, and it's just wild. If you're seeing stuff like this, that tells me that there are companies out there that could try and work with newer portable systems for other things. Why not a new Game Gear? You know, like, if you're going to do Nomad, Game Gear is not that far off from that idea.
Now that you mentioned that, it seems like they almost skipped a step along the way, which is okay, because that means they're one step closer to doing VMUs for the Dreamcast. Because you know that's where they're going.
Sure.
You know, and then they'll make the second Dreamcast.
Why not?
And the world will be a brighter place and a better place.
Okay, seriously, Retrobit, if you're watching this, and I really hope you are, the Nomad kind of looks like the original Nomad. Fine. The Game Gear, though. See, the Game Gear form factor was just necessity for its time. If you were to make a Game Gear with the form factor of a Game Boy, see, that would be pretty cool. You could get a lot of stuff working there in a really interesting way, and it would be smaller to fit in your pocket. I think that would be really neat. With a better colorful screen, honestly, there are some really cool games on the Game Gear. One of my favorite games of all time, Magical Puzzle Popples, happens to be on the Game Gear. I don't think I talk about that enough. I would love to see those things on a newer kind of system. Take what you've learned from the Nomad design that you're showing off there and implement it in this way. And if I were to add one more thing, if you're not going to do that, give us a Game Genesis cartridge that has a Game Gear slot on the top. Yeah, so that we can play the old Game Gear games on the Nomad.
That would be super cool. And yeah, I could probably see them doing that as well.
Yeah. But we don't know. Look, folks, what do you think of a brand new Nomad? It is crazy. It's wild. Do you think it's a good idea, or do you think that Retrobit should stop because they're making abominations of nature?
We're like 2 Kevin Bacon steps away from a new Dreamcast. It's fine.
It totally is.
It's fine.
Let us know what you think.